voice actor panel. Obviously, many of you were here earlier for the Everyone panel, since you have your questions already prepared. Do we have our volunteers from earlier? Same volunteers? Stand up, where are you? Where are my volunteers? They're not here.
I volunteer.
You can't volunteer, no! Okay, fine. Didn't see this one coming. Well, for those of you who don't understand what's going on, who weren't here for the earlier panel, the way we're handling questions is you write the questions down on the index cards, and you pass them usually to volunteers, but in this case you pass them to the wonderful Tabitha St.Germain. We are also joined by the fabulous Britt McKillip. And I'm going to mess up your last name. It's Ralph Strike like baseball. And what folks might not know about you is that you are in fact the voice of Angel Bunny. They're thinking about it. They're figuring it out. You are the agent for pretty much, what, 75-80% of the MLP cast? Many of you, I'm sure, came to his panel yesterday? Yes. Everyone enjoy it? I'm stalling for time whilst the questions are collected. What happened to my wonderful volunteers? Thank you. Alright, well this is enough to be getting on with, and if people wish to volunteer to help pass out the note cards and pencils, or to collect them when people have written the questions, by all means, I will love you. Thank you. Okay, here we are. There's water right there if you'd like it. All right then. Shall we get started?
Yes, please do.
Before we do that, if there are any children in the audience who would like to be a little bit closer to the action, if they'd like to come and sit up front so that they can get a good view of everyone, or not, you can stay where you are if you like as well, it's not mandatory. Small children up front.
Oh, here comes a gorgeous Luna.
Yes. Oh, okay, there we go. Big round of applause for all the kids who turned out. Where did Bob go? Bob, next year we need to get some milk and cookies, I think. Put that line item in the budget. Alright, while I have introduced these wonderful people, but while I'm sorting through the questions that have come in, I'm going to ask them a very broad one and see where they take it. I would like to know how you got started as performers. What first drew you to performing? And I'm not just saying voice acting, I'm saying performing because I know that you also sing, you do stage work. Between you, you've actually got most of the dramatic arts represented. So when did you first realise that's what you wanted to do, and what were the circumstances?
Well, Sven, I think you might want to answer this question, because you've been an actor since the old days in Sweden, and started the Swedish National Theatre as a water boy. No?
How did you get your start?
How I got started was, well, I mean, I've been kind of singing my whole life, so I think my first love was music. And my sister and I started acting at a very young age, 2 and 4, and did musical theater growing up. And I think it was when we were about 13 and 15 that we decided that we really wanted to make a career out of it, for the rest of our lives, to make that our career. So, yeah.
How many people in the audience are fans of a little show called Dead Like Me?
Such a fan.
Would you mind talking a little bit about your experience? What it was like working on that? While I stall for time, organising the questions.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I show called Dead Like Me on Showtime, and I auditioned for that when I was about 8 or 9, and we did 2 seasons, and it was fantastic, and very cool show. So if you haven't gone and watched it, you should. It's just fantastic writing, and yeah, really great show. So I was just blessed to be a part of it. So yeah.
It's a treat now that it's all out on DVD. You can just watch the whole thing. It's all swoop. It's awesome. It maybe was a surprise, but I was a little socially awkward when I was a child. So I really liked anything that was a bit escapist. I liked being in my imagination. So I loved being in the theater. My very first role was Tiny Tim in A Christmas Carol, and also the little boy that said, "Boy, it's Christmas Day, sir." And and then I was kind of hooked. You know, I got laughs. I got the approval that I very much desired when I was a little kid, and which can actually be the actor's disease as you grow up. But it's a great place to sort of prove it and let go of it, and just not care about that anymore. So that's sort of how I got my start, was being in the theater. And I also loved to sing, and eventually I got sent on voiceover auditions when it started to become a thing in shows like Alf and Beetlejuice and the Super Mario Brothers, and you know, the early stuff. And you guys were all unborn.
They're so dangerous. Anyway, y'all talk about yourself.
This is quite a dangerous question to ask, but I feel it needs to be asked. This is for Britt. How does it feel to be best princess? Hashtag shots fired.
Wow, well, that's an honor. Thank you to whoever said that. Yeah, that feels pretty darn good. Wow, go me.
There was a question earlier, actually, in the earlier panel about Cadence and your favourite part of the process of bringing her to life. So what was that favourite part for you?
I mean, I've said this a lot, but I really do mean it. Getting to sing, getting to be the singing voice of Cadence. I got to do kind of a Broadway style voice. I don't get to do that often. I sing country music, so that was so cool. I felt like I really was able to bring her to life in the moments where I got to be her singing voice. That was very special for me. So.
And speaking of country music, you were at, with your band, It's One More Girl. Yes, last week you were at a music festival, if I'm not mistaken.
We actually sang at a pretty historic place in Nashville called the Grand Ole Opry. So we got to. So yeah, we got to sing there, and that was pretty cool. And yeah, that will last me a lifetime memory, I think. So.
Since the writers earlier were plugging their books, are there any albums that you would like to plug, or any announcements there about upcoming work that all of these people can and will and should buy?
Well, you can go onto iTunes. I mean, we're on, you know, all the social media, Facebook.
You've all got your devices. Come on, shop.
Facebook, Twitter, all that, and we have an album out. I'm not sure that it's available yet in the States, but we are on iTunes, I believe. So that's probably where you can find it. Our name is One More Girl. That's our band name. So.
I think it's clear that you're all in a bit of a silly mood from the tenor of the questions that I'm getting here. But I'm obliged to ask some of them. So what would you do for a Klondike bar?
chocolatey, strange confection.
They didn't specify.
I might have to just pass it along. I'll pass that along too. I'm not really sure how to respond. Good question. Excellent question.
Ralph, what would you have your clients do for a club? What would you put in their contracts? Mike, do we have a...
Is this a contract to be the spokesperson for contact bars?
For them to be, can you say a question again?
No, I'm just... You're just messing about it. I think we'll move on to the question. Incredibly important to My Little Pony, though it is. This is an interesting question. Have either of you ever ad-libbed lines? Do you have any kind of control, or is it all very much stick to the script?
I have never ad-libbed a line in my life. I would never depart from the script. I would never say something that an author has not said. Over to you.
No, I generally stick pretty close to the script. I do, and I'm not very good at that type of thing.
I like to improv, and if they let me, I sometimes do it anyway because something will just come to mind, and more often than not, Terry says that's just weird.
I'd say it's really cool to watch her in the studio. I'm just saying, it's pretty darn cool. Tabitha is pretty awesome.
Thank you. I'm gonna buy one more girls' album immediately.
There is one thing I can add, and I think for some of you that were at my panel yesterday, I showed Tabitha's demo, and one of the last spots is when she was the voice of Olive Oil. And it was quite funny because I was telling everyone the importance of preparation, and I still remember that day. This was back when we had to fax sides, and Tabitha comes running in my office, and I need the sides for Olive Oil. And I look at my watch, and our audition is in like 10 minutes, and I said, you haven't looked at them yet? She goes, no. Zooms out, and then the next day I get a phone call, and it gets cast as Olive Oil, but Tabitha, so the ad-libbing definitely works.
I think, given that answer, this question kind of goes without saying, but have you ever broken out laughing in the middle of a recording session?
I have never laughed at a recording session before in my life. I do not find this humorous. It's a job. I show up and I say my lines, and I don't bump into the furniture, and I don't wear my hat so that they hit the microphone. Over to you.
The one keeping us laughing the whole entire time. I'm trying not to laugh because I feel like I'm always seated next to Tabitha, and I'm having to do this. It's just so funny.
If you could voice act any character from any piece of media, who would it be? Dream role.
I would like to play Bianca Castafiore in the Tintin franchise.
Tintin fans in the audience?
The opera.
Thank you.
I would like to do something in Asterix. The stuff that I liked when I was growing up. Those books, the French stuff. I like to do some of that. Anything?
Dream role. Any role.
Anything? Oh my gosh, any princess from Disney. I mean, dream come true. That would be a dream come true for me. Never would happen, but
Never say never.
This is why you are best princess. You are princess.
You're killing me. If you were stranded on a desert island and had one pony with you, who would it be and why? Parenthesis, no magic teleporting off or flying away, with a nice little drawing of a palm tree. I'm not kidding, it's right there.
Ralph.
I would choose Fluttershy. Because she would would keep me calm because I'd be panicking because I'm on the island. So she would keep me calm so I wouldn't panic.
Fluttershy fans?
I choose Pinkie Pie because you don't.
I choose Sakura because I think she probably had the greatest chance of surviving with her knowledge of the local firms and plants. I like your organization.
Can Rarity say, oh, it is on?
We had this question earlier, but I think we can revisit it. Whose question was that? Because that was a kid, that last question. Who wanted Rarity to say, oh, it is a
Oh, I think that deserves the best question.
So we had this earlier, but we should revisit it because perhaps the answers have changed in 3 hours. Which character is your favourite to play? Yeah, if you can or have to pick, which character is your favourite to play?
It changes by the minute, but I have to say, I really do enjoy
The sound of my own voice. It's all I'm saying. Don't make me throw my best teeth at you.
Between, this is from someone with the name of age 12. Oh no, that's your age, sorry. Do you prefer voicing Rarity or Luna more, and what was your favourite experience while voicing them?
I prefer to voice Rarity because because Luna changes. She's, well, you know, it's the moon. It goes through phases, and so back to the writers. So, and so I'm not always sure what the age is, or I'm not always sure, but I'm always sure of Rarity. She's at least I'm sure, and then I discover that the writers think different things, but that just all adds to the melting pot. I sort of think of her as a Miss Piggy of the pony world. So that's where my mind is. But, you know, the elegance and so forth is lovely, but it's tempered by an inner pig. I think people are going to be leaving in droves in about a second. I should stop talking. Okay.
So another question for you, Tabitha. This is from Mary, age 10. Mary, age 10, everyone. And this is a question about your favourite role, Granny Smith. Where do you get your inspiration for Granny Smith?
Well, I get my inspiration from the inner collapse of the bodily functions. I get my inspiration from the chopping yard. I get my inspiration from hay and apples. I get my inspiration from a good old choo. I get my inspiration from deep in the bottom of a casket of apple cider by times. Tell no one.
Mary, age 10, do you find that a satisfactory answer?
Phew. I was so worried about being judged by Mary. Age 10.
This is for Britt. You've done VA, live action, and singing. Which do you prefer? And I think you answered that with singing, but perhaps not.
Oh gosh, that's so hard to say. Because yeah, I said before, music was my first love, but I mean, I can't even answer that. That's such a hard
throwing her co-guest under the bus. Scrawled on this card are the words, "Ask her to sing." Shall we encourage her? You could sing together.
I did this a little earlier, but I'll do it again.
This day was going to be perfect, the kind of day of which I dreamed since I was small.
Ralph, is there anything you'd like to sing?
That's why I'm not a voiceover performer.
What about you, Foley?
Yeah, Foley, did you want to sing a little something?
I'm good for it later when there's karaoke. I need the backing track. Are you kidding? That's a hard act to follow, folks. Would you follow that? No. My little pony, my little pony. Are you satisfied?
Wasn't paying attention, do it again.
You only get the one. Favorite episode?
Dog and Pony Show. I don't know. It's so much fun to be dragged into the mines by a bunch of dirty dogs and asked to dig up stones. Isn't it?
We do have children in the audience, you realise.
Well, it did happen.
There was actually a question in here. They were quite keen on you whining if you would be.
Ladies, do not whine. This is whining. I was complaining. Complaining is completely different than whining, which I do not do.
So this is a question for both of you. How much experience in general acting do you need to really get into voice acting? How do you sort of bridge the gap in styles between the two? How does your approach differ between voice acting and, say, stage acting or film acting?
I mean, they're so different. It's so different being on a film set and being in the studio. I think it's quite a different experience. But I think they're both, I find that they can both be equally as difficult. Like, I work just as hard in the studio as I do live on a set. I think you put so much energy into it. And so, I don't know, Tabitha, what do you think?
Well, you have to be stiller as an on-camera performer. I don't really feel too qualified to do. It's very different doing stage. Obviously, you need to be able to project, and that's a very different, kind of much more open-hearted. Like, it's a much more give out thing, and I think in film you sort of it's more sort of you're in a receptive state. And voiceover, you bottle yourself. So you don't send, even though your energy might be flying all over the map, you have to be just in front of a microphone. So it's a sort of a contained madness, and it creates incredible tension in your body. So you can just end up aching like a pancake. But the tension, the amount of tension that you keep, and the amount of focus that you keep and the ball of rolling laughter that you never let out, because you let the audience let it out, is the thing that sort of differentiates, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's very serious work. There is no laughing ever.
There is no laughing. We don't laugh in the studio because nothing is funny. We say the words as they are on the page, and we do not hit the microphone, not even with our hats.
This is a question from another child. If you could voice another character from another film that you don't voice, who would it be? P.S. You guys are awesome and talented. Smiley face, heart.
This question. Okay. I know that you are a young person asking, but it's a bit like saying, whose husband would you like to marry? Whose baby would you like to steal? Because they're already taken. And, with respect and with love, I wouldn't want to take anybody else's role. Sometimes the roles will drop away from someone and you do get them, and that's a different sort of circumstance, but generally speaking, I'm not gonna. If I said I want to play Twilight Sparkle, can you imagine the fallout?
Say it, I want to see the fallout.
Fallout Equestria.
I've been sitting on this question for a while.
There's the lie.
Sorry. Angel Bunny is my favorite vaguely evil rabbit in the show. Ralph, how do you get yourself in character for this?
I call up Vincent Tong, and I get him to do it for me.
This is to everyone. Fun? Question mark.
Yes, please. Oh, it's too many thinking parts. I'm wondering if it's a sort of a madness, because I've seen this happen. It happened in Finland, and I thought, oh, Finnish people are very strange. But I didn't realize too many thinking parts in that.
There was actually a question in here about your experience at the overseas con. It was Crystal Con? Crystal Fair?
Fair.
Crystal Fair.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Oh, it's so awesome. Finland, I think everybody knows by now. Dan, you were there. I have a crush on Finland, and I have a crush on the Finnish people. And the weird thing is they're kind of like Canadians with a funny accent. And too many vowels, way too many vowels. We would just go into the grocery stores and we'd see like the labels on the things with like 20 vowels in the middle of it. We were like, there's many consonant, damn it. It's like Canada. It's bureaucratic. It's freezing cold. People drink too much, and they are conservative, and they have this great accent, really great accent. So I dug it all to bits and pieces. And Daniel partied with the whole country. Daniel was in a sauna with all of Finland, and just so if you want some scuttlebutt, here it is. Silence.
Dead air. I'm trying to build attention. No. Dear Princess Tabitha, I'm a voice actress in training, and I basically want to be you when I grow up, but there's so much negativity and I get discouraged. Any words of advice? Your faithful student, Hannah K.
The thing is, you can't be me. The job's taken. I would love you to be the fantastic version of yourself. I would say take classes. Take classes because, as I've said probably a million times before, when you haven't been down the road, it's really, really good to just have some protocols. So your mind can rest, because the mind is always going to go into anxiety. You know, if you're going for a television job and you just don't know what the angles are, it's just good if you know that in this circumstances I choose this, in this circumstances I do that. And you may discard all of that later, but it's really, really good to have some kind of map. So I would say do that, and I would say play with your own media at home. Everybody has recording devices on their iPhones and their computers, and it's so available. Put it on YouTube, put it on Vimeo, make a lot of noise, listen to the beautiful sounds that people make, and the really unusual voices that they have, and the turns of phrase that you think are interesting, and use them. And we welcome you, Hannah.
Britt or Ralph, were there any words of wisdom you wanted to add to that?
Well, I think I had mentioned yesterday as well that I think it's impossible to do well in this career without some form of training. So it's not, you don't have to get a BFA in acting, but improv is great, theater is great. You can even go onto Craigslist and go down to the film and TV tab and see if there's a student project that you might, or there might be an independent video game, and that's a great way. The more you work, and with this group and how you're connected with email, you can get together and with the various comics, play amongst yourselves. But the more that you sort of develop characters, I think the more that will help you build up your confidence.
I think you just got some great advice from two of the best in the business, so.
This is also a question about the biz. How is your time split between working, auditions, looking for work, or in other words, how much time is work versus getting work?
Yes. We audition, it's almost every day, isn't it? But we tend to, whereas in the old days you always had to go for every audition into a studio and put it down on tape there. Now people do their auditions at home in their underpants in front of Skype. Or on their iPhones, I record mine in my song on my voice memo, which is not advisable, but
It sounds surprisingly good.
I know.
It actually sounded better than her friend that was staying with her that was recording it on a really expensive microphone.
Yeah. Voice memo is amazing. So yeah.
I think so. Audience, are you satisfied with that? Yeah. Good. We have a question from Sydney Herring. I think that's Herring, age 9. Sydney, there you are.
Hello, you.
It's a wonderful outfit. Can you stand up and show the audience if you want to? Round of applause. And her question is a classic. What is your favourite colour?
Ralph, what's your favorite color?
Orange.
Really?
Best pony's orange.
Shocked that you started.
Yeah. I have two favorite colors, purple and red, but like a dark red.
Mm-hmm. I have lots of favorite colors too. Moss green, I think, is my very favorite color. That sort of lime, vibrant moss green. I love that color. I love colors though, just all of them. I can eat them with a spoon and eat the fork and put them on the floor and roll the cup and then put them on the wall and then nothing. And I love purple as well, and I love cherry red. I look at that, there it is.
I have two for Tabitha. I'll do this one first. Tabitha, are your hats in fact giant?
Are my hats in fact a giant?
My hats, in fact, are giant. I put them on my head, I wear them on the outside, and I wear them to bed.
Who asked this? Was that?
Whose question is that?
Whose question was that? But I hope you liked the answer.
You have won an autograph. The next question?
The next question was, did you see, and if you did, what did you think of, WWE performer John Cena. Cena? Cena, I'm sorry. Really, I'm a huge WWE fan, as you can tell. WWE performer John Cena impersonating Rarity. Did you see that, and what did you think of it?
No, is it a wrestler? It's a wrestler guy? That sounds very intriguing, but no, I if anyone wants to do an imitation of that for me right now, I'd be quite happy to see it.
No brave souls?
No brave souls. Any questions, comments, concerns? Did you want to do an imitation? Yeah?
Oh,
great! Such a terrible name color. Oh, get me a mirror.
That's worth an autograph. Come and grab one.
There's one left. Come on, darling.
Don't be shy.
Come on, Miss Shy.
Although, actually do be shy. It
Do be
goes with
shy.
the...
You can keep asking.
There are some other questions here. Who?
Thank you, Miss Shy.
Round of applause. I have a feeling that the answer to this question is that you can't tell us, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is the new show that made you late to the con, Tabitha?
I'm not allowed, right? Can I say who's leaving? Late to court. Is it? And I really.
Vincent Tom.
Yeah, I know. Vincent Jones, Sam Tokar, right? I think I might be getting tired. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I can't say anything about it, but it's awesome, and it's a Netflix show. It's not a Netflix show. It's a nerve. It's a moose. It's a moose.
This actually ties in with that question. How many non-disclosure agreements are you under at any given time? Is it hard keeping those secrets?
I have never broken a non-disclosure agreement. I take my contractual obligations very seriously, and I never say things out of turn. I also never say things that are inappropriate or wrong in any way.
I've just been handed the video of John Cena whining like Rarity. Shall we?
We're gonna watch TV while you watch us watch Do you think that is a brownie or a coinky dinky? Oh, you think so?
Wrestling Brody.
It's a roughie then. Okay.
Nightmare Nights does not endorse the use of naughty language. You have to be a professional wrestler if you want to do that.
Tabitha, do an impression of John Cena.
Never say anything stronger than sugar.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea.
That's a very strong language.
Oh my, so many questions. I think we might actually be running. Oh, we have 6 minutes left.
6
Speed questions.
This is the worst possible thing.
What possible thing?
It's not 900%. I'm going to hand it to you. There's a
I'm not really sure what that says.
Oh dear, see what I've done now?
Done it. Oh, you've done it. Might you give your wonderful ponies
I think they would like you to do your Princess Luna Nightmare Nights.
The nightmare will last forever!
I'm sorry if I scared your child.
Does Princess Cadence have anything to say about that?
Anything to say after that? Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. Does Angel Bunny have anything to say about that? I've got a question here. Did you know the movie in which Tabitha played a witch was playing in the hotel lobby earlier? Which film was that? Which film?
Oh, that's Scary Godmother.
I saw that.
It might be Scary Godmother. She gets around this time of year.
Question here for the voice actors. Well, okay. As opposed to the other people on stage. How much time does it take for you to tape each episode?
That usually depends. It can range from, I don't know, a couple of hours to 4 hours to, I mean,
Our call is usually 4 hours.
usually 4 hours, but
We usually use about 2.
yeah.
Unless there's a bunch of brand new characters and stuff.
Or if
And if
there's
they're
pickups
singing.
or something like that.
If they're
But
singing.
generally speaking,
Yeah. On the first day of the show, they had me for 8 hours. So, but thereafter, it's usually 4, and we usually this show we have a shorthand with, and we get through much faster than many others.
A related question. Do you find it hard to transition from one character's voice to another?
One character's voice to another. Do I find it hard?
I don't know. It's quite a strange question.
I think that some people find it quite hard because they don't drink enough cider. And cider's known to revive the vocal cords and to moisturize the filaments.
What's going on over there?
I'm being handed more questions for Angel Bunny, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
A question from a child. What music do you enjoy? Does music inspire a character voice? And that's for both of you.
oh my gosh, what music do I enjoy?
Aside from your own, which is again available for sale on iTunes, Amazon Music.
I have to say, when it comes to music, I don't just like one genre. I love all genres of music. I can listen to pretty much anything. And I think all music can be inspiring, and yeah, I get a lot of my inspiration from music. I get through most of my life with music, so yeah.
Well, oh, I have a thing.
You can answer if you'd like.
Yeah.
Who would like Ralph to answer the question?
What do you listen to?
That inspires me.
Yeah.
I really enjoy listening to, I guess, Afro-American women would be my, like Mary J. Blige, Alicia Keys. Those would be,
Yeah.
yeah, I think most of the women that I would listen to fall into that category.
I like it all, I gotta say. At the moment, I'm kind of on a Bollywood kick. So, yeah. But I like it all.
We are almost out of time, so I will finish this with another broad question. Do you have any sort of questions or words of wisdom or anything you'd like to express to your fans?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I have any words of wisdom, but I don't think I've been able to say this yet to all of you. Thank you for everything that you do, and for creating this whole thing. It's been such an incredible experience for me, so thank you.
Just looked at it and it drooped. I like you all so much, and you're so colorful and so beautiful and so much fun to play with, and and I'm really glad that whatever this peculiar confluence is, that we all got to meet each other and hang. So that's what
And that completes the panel, so let's have another huge round